Hello, and welcome to this week's Movie Math, where ho ho ho, that's a lot of dough. Yes, give and ye shall receive, as Sony and Marvel gave you the ultimate Spider-Man movie, and in return, you gave them not just the first billion-dollar movie of the pandemic, it can still be done, thank goodness, but also one of the most successful movies of all time, period. That's right, Spider-Man No Way Home isn't just doing well for a pandemic movie, it's doing well for any movie. On Christmas Day, on the 11th day of its international release, remember it hit overseas December 15th, Spider-Man No Way Home tied Avengers Infinity War to become the second fastest movie to $1 billion. And right now, about just a little over a week into its run, it's already around number 38 on the all-time list. The highest Spider-Man movie, Far From Home, sits at 25, but No Way Home will likely top that. Can it crack the all-time top 10? That would be its next milestone. Avengers Endgame went on to become the second highest grossing film of all time. For a while, it was number one until Avatar cheated, whatever. And Infinity War is number 5. Of the top 10 films to make it to $1 billion the fastest, only three of them, not including No Way Home because the jury's still out on that, but they did not make it into the all-time top 10. They're close, though. They're close. Spider-Man No Way Home would need about $450 million more to reach that next milestone, the all-time top 10. And during the pandemic, that's a legit hurdle, especially with No Way Home falling 69%. That's like the pandemic in its second weekend, despite Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, huge movie-going days in the domestic market, which is a big chunk of where Spider-Man No Way Home's money is coming from. I was surprised so many of you were shocked that people go to the movies here on Christmas Day. We do! It's a big thing. And so it's a very big drop. I think it should have held a little bit better, especially because that's a 10% bigger drop than Avengers Endgame in its second weekend, and that opened bigger. So Spider-Man, you would think maybe it would be sustained because it opened a little smaller because I think of Omicron. I think these numbers are the only thing that's holding No Way Home from being actually Avengers Endgame level is Omicron and COVID overall. I think if it weren't for that situation, it probably would be on par with Endgame rather than Infinity War. Although Infinity War's numbers are pretty sweet. We'll see if it can get to the total of Infinity War. Also, remember, we're living in a time now, older moviegoers are taken off the board because of Omicron, and also movies are faster to streaming. So they don't, when will Sony put No Way Home on digital, on PVOD? That's a very interesting question. Very interesting. We have a lot of interesting movie maths ahead of us. So as I said, the larger drop, 10% difference, is largely probably due to Omicron, which is heavily eroding moviegoing in some areas like the Northeast, which of course is a huge hub of moviegoing. Overall, moviegoer confidence dropped in the last few days from 74% of people polled saying they felt very or somewhat comfortable going to a theater, and now it's at 69%. That's not huge, but it's enough to make a dent. So yes, while other movies are falling victim to that fear, Spider-Man No Way Home has a dent. It has a dent, that's how I would describe it. Probably because its audience skews so young and fans are going multiple times that makes up for the loss of older moviegoers. How many times have you seen Spider-Man No Way Home at this point? I'm excited to see some high numbers here. Also going forward, this is a benefit for Spider-Man No Way Home. There's no real competition in the marketplace. Usually other movies usually come out, Christmas is now a huge blockbuster corridor thanks to Avatar and Star Wars, seeding the ground. So this is a huge blockbuster window now too, which really sucks for awards films. This used to be their time to shine. But anyway, blockbusters had Thanksgiving, and then December was supposed to be for awards movies. But anyway, usually a lot of blockbusters, certainly the ones that are in the top 10, come out in the summer, and as you know, that's extremely competitive. There's a big movie every weekend. Spider-Man No Way Home, it's got weeks and weeks and weeks to itself out here. Maybe as the movie audience goes down a little bit, maybe some of the people who are concerned will then come out. So that'll give it really good spider legs. January 14th, there's Scream. I'm very curious to see what Paramount does with Scream. Other movies are doing so poorly. Scream has the nostalgia factor that No Way Home does, but will people go to the theater for Scream? I think that they probably will. Part of me is like, do you want to throw that on Paramount Plus day and date? I don't think they should do that. Let's roll the dice. They could just do a shortened window if they need to. And then Sony's own Morbius on January 28th. Fascinatingly, can Morbius ride the No Way Home wave to a better than expected opening? The movie looks it looks not good. But it could have an amazing end credit scene that ties it all in like Venom 2 did. They could film that any minute. They have time to film it and stick it at the end of that movie because it's about a month out. I mean, Andrew Garfield, I don't think he's busy. I mean, they could film something. They could film something that would blow that up. And if I were Sony and Amy Pascal, I'd be seriously considering it right now, if not already making the plans. I hope they're keeping their eye on the ball instead of just being like, we made so much money. All right, anyway, here's another interesting question. Whose win is this, Sony or Marvel's? Discuss below as I explain the situation. That's a good question. I like that one. Sure, Spider-Man No Way Home definitely benefits, as do all the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, from being tied to the MCU. But its mega success is actually because of its hyper-meta focus on the Spider-Man franchise itself, past and present. And clearly it was inspired by Into the Spider-Verse, the Sony animation movie that was made without Marvel Studios' help, that beat out the mouse's Disney Animation and Pixar for Best Animated Feature in 2018. I love competition in Hollywood. It makes it better for the rest of us. And now, Disney's death grip on the top box office records is eroded a little bit more, whereas before, actually, their only real competition was coming from Universal. Universal, the quietest but most competitive studio after Disney. They're going to come up later, in fact, in this very movie math. Obviously, Disney owns 25% of No Way Home after putting up 25% of the financing. That's the new deal that they struck with Sony. Plus, after some very aggressive negotiating in the public space, no less. They were like, let's freak out the fans. That was great. Sony held their ground, though. Plus, Disney gets to use Spidey in their MCU movies and shows, their theme parks and cruise ships, which is no small thing, and they're bringing former Spider-Man movies to Disney Plus starting in 2022, and recent Sony releases, including recent Spider-Man films, plus the whole Sony theatrical slate from 2022 to 2026, they're like, do we want Morbius on there? Okay, but anyway, after the pay one window, where they go on Netflix first. So Sony movies going forward are going to first hit Netflix for the pay one window after they do the whole PVOD run. When they can do streaming, it'll be Netflix, and then they'll filter down to Disney+. But, starting soon, they're going to have a good chunk of Spider-Man movies on there. But still, knowing how, let's say, competitive Disney is, as well as Kevin Feige, look how he has ground DC into the ground. He slit their throat. Boy, that's aggressive. Expect Disney to look to blow No Way Home out of the water with Doctor Strange, too. They're like, fine, this is fine. Just wait a few months. And in fact, Disney released the teaser for Doctor Strange 2 online on Wednesday before Spider-Man No Way Home even hit its second weekend. Aggressive, very aggressive. Kevin Feige does have a lot more toys for cameos, especially after the Fox acquisition. They're all going to be in there. And part of the reason Doctor Strange 2 has been undergoing such extensive reshoots beyond fixing the first cut, which tested very poorly internally, but it's to add extensive cameos, all of which I reported to you first. Sony and Amy Pascal, who also produced Into the Spider-Verse, by the way, should be thrilled, though, as No Way Home is the biggest movie for the studio ever. Only Men in Black and Jumanji have come close to performing for Sony like the Spider-Man franchise has. And Sony has plenty more Spider-Man movies coming. On that note, fascinatingly, an Amazing Spider-Man 3 movement has popped up on social media, similar to the Snyder Cut movement. Although here, fans do not find themselves at odds with executives, as I'm sure the Sony suits would love to give you what you want. Also, although you guys have not got anything trending yet, so you have some work to do. Part of the point of these movements is that you guys gotta get stuff trending. But this is the movie math of interesting questions. How would Tom Holland feel about a competing Spider-Man who stars in his own movies, right? That would be competing at the box office. That's, again, a very interesting question. One of the reasons Marvel has done so well in the past is they have a cohesive, clear, single storyline for fans to get behind as a monolith. While DC has hurt themselves by dividing their fandom by giving them different versions of popular characters to support, not just in live action, but on movies, TV, and also even in animation. So will the multiverse create the same headache for Sony and Marvel if they go down the same path and create those divisions? Oh, I'm interested in that. As for the rest of the holiday box office, it turns out there were some presents under the tree for other studios, namely Universal. See, I told you. In fact, they're the only other studio to have their own successful theme parks. I know some of you will be like, Warner Brothers has some theme parks outside the United States, but they're not at the level, of course, of the Disney theme parks and Universal. So yes, Sing 2, an awesome movie which deserves this success and is theaters only, rang up about $24 million for the weekend and $41 million for the 5-day. That is incredible. Along with Encanto for Thanksgiving and Space Jam 2 from Warner Brothers, these are the biggest family debuts of the year. Although it shows that along with blockbuster family films, it was suspected family films wouldn't do well during the pandemic, but those have turned out to be the two strongest. And kudos to Space Jam 2 for accomplishing that feat, for joining that group with an HBO Max day and date release. The others opened theaters only. And Warner Brothers' grand experiment came to an end this weekend with its final HBO Max day and date release, The Matrix Resurrections, which did soft numbers at the box office, but it likely fell so short of Dune, the movie to beat, because its audience scores are so low. Don't worry, Lana Wachowski. I don't think Warner Brothers is going to force you to make any more Matrix movies. And the new question is, can they wrestle the franchise away from her and her sister? Because there's still definite interest in it. I was talking to somebody, and I was like, I don't think it's quite the level of Terminator. I think Terminator needs a long break. But I think The Matrix is like one more bad movie away from needing its own long break. I think that they could make another movie quickly with another director, and I think people would still be interested. Are you? Are you like, nope, I'm out? Or are you like, I think we can still do it? Some of you even liked the fourth one. Some of you even liked it. The Kingsman was edged out for the weekend, though. For the 10, it did very well. But for the weekend itself, not very well, but it didn't embarrass itself. Darn it, I think The Kingsman will shine on streaming, on PVOD and streaming. And it has a pretty good audience score. That's good. B+ is what all the Kingsman movies have gotten, so that's encouraging. But as for the weekend, Lionsgate's Christian sports bio, American Underdog, edged it out. This is fascinating. Listen to this. This movie features pretty strong stars, a little past their heyday, but still. And it has a solid RT score from some major publications included there, and amazing audience scores, but it's directed by the Irwin brothers, who specialize in Christian faith films. They've made a couple of other movies, but this is by far their biggest. It's the biggest talent they've been able to get, and it's their biggest hit to date. And it shows real growth in the Christian faith market at the box office. Remember, there was that special event a few weeks ago that did pretty well. It was the biggest Fathom Events event ever. Well, other studios joined Lionsgate in tapping this Christian faith market. Are we ready to see more religious films in the domestic top 10 more consistently? And what about films for other religions? Also, I want to point out that Saudi Arabia is on track to join China as another huge marketplace. Or it's maybe just the publicity department getting themselves a headline. But they are growing. And that article points out that I think 70% of Saudi Arabia's marketplace is young with money to spend. So that could be a big movie-going audience. They're very far from right now. But this is, in a couple of years, they could be on the level of China as a major marketplace that can shift the box office rankings. So China had a huge influence on the creative of Hollywood. And I know others of you would like representation for other groups. Would this increase representation of Middle Eastern characters because of, wanting those movies to play in Saudi Arabia? But, we've had some problems with the Chinese government, and Saudi Arabia is a similar situation. So much for politics and religion staying out of the entertainment space. But will Hollywood be leading those conversations? Will they be controlling them? Because all the awards films that Hollywood, where they usually address that stuff, the films that are doing well are made by outside forces that can kind of like get a little bit of a hook in there. But the films that were made from deep inside Hollywood are doing horribly. Absolutely horribly. Is that just because older moviegoers are taken off the board because of coronavirus and Omicron? Also, is there a shift in what type of movie people are willing to see in theaters? Because, with big TVs, my parents got a big TV. It was impressive. It was a little bit like going to a movie theater watching it this weekend. It was. I can see what many of you were talking about. And then the pandemic has, made people beef up their movie-going situations at home. And people are used to waiting, what is it now, just 45 days. Hollywood, you broke yourself. But this is very interesting. We'll see. Nightmare Alley fell out of the top 10 in its second weekend. Are you going to watch any of these awards films later? Are you just waiting to watch them, or do you have no interest in them? All right, so let's head over to streaming on that note. Oh, so sad in some ways. All right, so for the week of November 15th, my God, who is watching The Wheel of Time? Apparently a bunch of people who are not on social media. Because the Amazon show has a low public profile, but its ratings, with just 3 episodes, blew the competition out of the water its debut week. But per usual, Netflix dominated the rest of the top 10. That's incredible, though. That's incredible! With movies for that week, Disney Plus had the edge with a 6-4 split with Netflix, thanks to Disney Plus Day offering still going strong the week after. As for Netflix's global top 10, Sandra Bullock and Christmas movies were still going strong mid-December, while Spider-Man Homecoming and John Wick 3, if you live in the United States, don't be like, what, I can watch that? No, you can't. They're not available in the United States, but they still were in the global top 10 for English language movies. As for TV, The Witcher, debuting with seasons 1 and 2 dominated in the top 10, while Titans Season 3, available on Netflix where HBO Max isn't available, enjoyed its second week in the global top 10, while Season 1 popped in this week as well. Season 3 starts out so good, but then got so incredibly bad, I stopped watching it. Maybe it plays better dubbed, although it did very well in Canada on Netflix, so I don't know. I thought it got just that and Doom Patrol, I stopped watching both of them. And on iTunes, No Time to Die became available to rent and easily returned to number 1, while Spider-Man and Christmas movies dominated the rest of the list. As for this coming week, the week between Christmas and New Year's is a perfect time for you to catch up on what you've missed or watch it again, as Hollywood fare no longer has to compete with Christmas classics. You know, you got to watch a lot of Christmas movies during the holiday window, but now you have time to watch other stuff, more time. No new movies, though, are being released in theaters. They want you to go watch what's already there. But the Book of Boba Fett starts on Wednesday. Join me at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the live watch-along, not released for press. So I'm hoping that's because there's some great surprises in store for us. So you want to be the first to witness them. You don't want them spoiled on social media. So watch with me live at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. And then on Friday, New Year's Eve, Netflix drops Cobra Kai Season 4. And that's this week's Movie Math. What do you plan to catch up on or watch again this week? And what do you think of Spider-Man No Way Home's amazing success? And who do you think it's the win for, Marvel or Sony? Share those thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.